And because of that, I know you'll be fine and you'll be safe. And none of these Hollywood stories are true when it comes to my Lewis, because no one's going to touch my Lewis. Ain't no one going to DD my Lewis.
Hello, welcome back to the Evolve podcast with me, Lewis, and my good old chum and short king, Samuel.
Short king, are you fucking... Right. I'm 5'11" on a bad day. Leave me alone.
I know, we're the same height. I just knew it would get you. I'm sorry. I had chum before, then I thought I need to switch it up, and then I've been wanting to say short king for weeks. I keep forgetting, and I just remembered today. I'm sorry.
Like, do you know what's mad? Like, I put effort into having a positive attitude sometimes, you know, to put a smile on for you and just recording. I've not even got one trim. I look like I squat in my own house.
You know what?
And you're gonna
I got you when you were down. I'm sorry. You know what? That's my bad. I apologize.
That's crazy.
I'm sorry.
Next time I'm gonna get a trimmer and make you wait 2 hours. Watch.
Well, again? Okay.
Yeah. Fine. I know it hurts you.
It really did, actually. Yeah.
Exactly.
It really does.
Dick.
Fine. Fine.
But yeah.
Sam.
Start again. Say something nice. I can wait.
I'm here with my scrumptious chocolate tall king man.
No, pause. Yo. Okay. Okay.
But Samuel, tell me about your week.
My week has been average. It's been okay. I don't know if there was any difference between now and then, but when we last recorded, so this time last week, I wasn't feeling as good because I was trying to recover from, I don't know what it's called, because I wouldn't say a cold, but I didn't feel like I had a cold. I just had a blocked nose that wouldn't go away. But I've been trying to recover from that, so I hope I sound a bit clearer. The mindset I talked about. So was I talking about my birthday party last week? I was.
Well, yes.
Yeah. So the mindset has maintained, and I've really been enjoying it, dude. I've really been enjoying this. And you know what? It's not nihilistic. I'm not out here like burn the world. I don't care about people. Everyone's mean to me. No, I'm just very determined with my actions, and I'm maintaining my boundaries. So I'm not saying stuff. Excuse me. I'm going to move the mic some mic feels. That's better. Now I can get comfortable. I'm not as bothered about if I say this, will they think I'm terrible at my job? If I say this, will they think I'm a dick? And all that. I've been saying what I need to say to get the results I need for the task I'm trying to complete. And in a sense, I've just been doing my job without the extra fluff of Sam and this whole like giddy attitude and this whole like, oh, hey guys, I'll crack jokes if I feel like I need to crack jokes. But I'm not constantly trying to put people please.
It's draining.
Make sure it is. And well, it isn't for me because I've done it for so long. It became part of like how I communicated with people.
Yeah.
But I come to find that it made it so there was extra steps to get to the same outcome. I have not learned I actually get to without the fluff.
Yeah, it's more like not draining for you, but you realize how much energy you could have if you didn't do that shit.
I'm leaving the day. I'm leaving my work day with enough mental processing power to do more tasks.
That's good, man.
And I'm really enjoying it. I really am. I'm really enjoying how people have responded to it. Because remember I talked about how sometimes when you change, everyone's like, oh, Sam, what's wrong? And then everyone's like, oh, like, let's get happy Sam back. And because I'm taking more of a measured approach, I'm not going completely the opposite end. I'm not talking to anyone anymore. Everyone's a dick. I'm not doing that. I'm doing more of I don't need to say it, so I won't. I don't need to prove anything to you because I work here. I don't need to prove I deserve a job that I already have. And I'm really enjoying it. And there's been evidence off the back of that in terms of how my managers have been communicating with me, the benefits and the response I'm getting. I feel more respected. And to be honest, I don't know if people's attitudes towards me have changed, but my awareness of people's attitudes towards me are more positive. I'm seeing things in more of a positive light. And it's almost like the issue wasn't me not getting respect from other people. The issue was me not valuing myself to think I deserve the respect I probably already had from people. Right? So I was putting extra effort in when I didn't need to. It made me sound desperate. I basically acted extra for people's like respect. And because of that, I wasn't getting the level of respect I believed my extra actions were deserved. But now, because I'm kind of just taking a measured approach, I'm just doing what I need to do. I feel respected almost because the amount of energy I'm putting out there, I'm getting the equal rewards back for it.
Expand on the rewards part of and the benefits that you're seeing.
People actually my requests as I say it. They're not like questioning it. They're not, and sometimes they do because it needs more clarity, and that's fine. But they're not questioning like the validity of my request. They're not questioning my ability to make such a request because of a lack of clarity around what my role is. I'm a product manager, and there are decisions sometimes I make because I have to make it, and they have to be responded to based on my request. There are certain things that need my approval, and there's a certain level of authority I need to be able to give approval or not give the approval for that, right?
Yeah.
And the old Sam coming in all giddy like, hey, and was like, oh, I'm not sure what I'm doing here. Oh, let's see what we can do, guys. That kind of behavior was like, the response to that was, I'm not sure he knows what he's talking about. I'm not going to do what he tells me to do. But now I'm very much, we're going to do this. This is why we're doing this. An alternative is this approach, but we're not going to do that because it's not efficient enough compared to this approach. So we're going to do what I want to do right now. And this is my evidence as to why. I'm saying it clearly. I'm cutting out the whole emotional fluff I add to like the underlayer of what I'm saying.
Yeah.
And dude, I'm getting actions. I feel like when I talk to our engineers, it's almost like they're hearing me and just going, okay, Sam, we're on it. It's that level of like, I'm not talking like a drill sergeant, but I'm getting the response of one. It's almost like, yeah, we've got this. And I think it's because there is confidence in how I deliver the message to people. Yeah. And it's all revolved around the mindset. So that's a huge benefit. Another one is I'm taking myself more seriously. So because I'm taking myself more seriously, I am actually able to do more tasks, but I'm not actively pushing myself past my limits like I used to try and prove to myself I could do more. So a summary of that is the same attitude I was giving out to other people. I was doing it to myself of like, even I didn't have confidence in my own ability. I had to prove something to myself. But I know I can do it. And I know I can do it on time with some of the tasks I've got. There's a certain project I'm working on that I don't want to disclose just yet. But I'll disclose it if it works out well, because I feel like the exposure of this podcast could work negatively towards it. But either way, I'm working on that task with more energy than I anticipated. That's because I'm measuring how much I give out during my day's work. And the final bit is I haven't been going Thai boxing as much because I've had my birthday. We've had Sarah's birthday. There's been a lot of celebrations in between. I've gone to one training session since. Fitness wasn't as good, but it was way better than it was when I first started. I think it's because I was ill when I went training, to be fair. So that was all right. I am losing weight. I am getting leaner. And honestly, dude, I'm just loving the mindset I have right now. I'm achieving goals, anxious extrovert-wise, because, I mean, that's one of the main things we need to talk about when we talk about what's your week been like, our business. Anxious extrovert-wise, things are going okay. There was a moment where I kind of just got fed up of the lack of progress. So I caught up with another guy from my course, and he was basically like, he's no bullshit. Like, he just said it how it was. He was like, Sam, not gonna lie, the way you want to sell it in the proposition isn't attractive enough. And he didn't just say like that and left it at that, because I hate when people give that kind of feedback. Yeah. He explained why, and he was very much like, I'm a specialist. I'm looking to grow my brand, and I want to do it quickly. The platform doesn't just need to give me a way to create content and share it. It needs to give me a way to understand the value of the content I'm putting out. So having like the metrics come back, it needs to have a way to maintain users. So he was saying all these things. I was making note of different ways of not only giving value through the content specialists will create, but also giving some short-term gratification. So little things that let people learn about themselves quickly. And it re-energized me. I'm really excited for us to get the base stuff out of the way. I called Ollie the same day, and I was just like, hey dude, like, I've just had this chat. It's really amazing. And the old me would always be like, Ollie, I've had this chat. I've got these ideas. I'd say it, and then we really wouldn't do much about it afterwards because I'd burn myself out. But the new me is kind of, this is how we're going to do it. Let's break into little chunks. And by end of this month, I want to do this. By end of next month, I want to do this. And now we've broken it down into stages. So come the halfway point in July, Ollie should be done for all the tech stuff. By end of July, all the content will be uploaded and we'll have a constant feed in. And by August, we'll start marketing to get people back on the platform and interacting with it. Before we follow through some more stages that I want to keep quiet for now, because it'd be a nice surprise for the users. So that's been a win on that front. And then last but not least, we are growing in daily listens. I don't know if you noticed. Our average,
Nice.
our average has been going. I think today was the only day I'd seen it go below 10. Or no, the only day I've seen it go below, what am I saying? Below 20 in the last week.
Okay, cool.
And I think it's literally because I checked it really early in the morning and ain't nobody listening that early in the morning. Like, we release it early, but like, it's because I was checking it at like 5 a.m. and I was the only person on there. And even though we had one listener, and I didn't even listen to an episode then, so we had one listen on an episode, and I was like, oh, cool. So we are growing. Things are working out great. Thank you very much to everyone who's supporting. You're keeping me happy. But that's been more or less it. There generally hasn't been huge negatives that I would cry about today.
Nice, man.
Yeah, dude, I'm just taking things in my stride and I'm enjoying it. I'm
Good.
just enjoying it.
Yeah.
How about you?
I like it. No,
Have you been?
you seem very focused. So no, I'm
Thank you,
glad
sir.
that you're taking action, and we're not falling into our lesser selves when we just chat shit and not do anything.
Exactly.
Yeah, we're all about action this year. I like it.
Shit,
No,
make
that's
money.
good, man. That's good, man. Well, God, this has been a week. It's one of those weeks where, yeah, your normal weeks when you're just like, you're slowly moving the needle, then all of a sudden, shit just goes 100. So
Yeah.
I told you an update outside of the pod, which I might be able to say publicly in a few weeks.
Okay.
I'm gonna tease that out there, get the people frustrated.
I know what he's talking about, and you don't.
You guys don't. And then I had a catch up with a guy called Nick. He's a director and producer for a short film that he's working on. He did like crowdfunding for last month, and he's raised like 25k. And he'd been saying for a while, like, oh yeah, we should hop on a call so you can go through the kind of like the shot list for the short film with the cinematographer.
Right.
And beforehand, he was like, oh, what capacity do you want to get involved? And I was like, look, well, I haven't edited a short film before, so I'm happy to kind of learn the process from like your main editor and kind of like get involved in any capacity I can, whether that's you wouldn't need to edit one scene, because like, these projects are very personal, and, he wants to become like a big director, I'm assuming, like, he wants to submit this to like Cannes Film Festival and like all those sort of things. It's not just like a little, oh, let's just make a short movie for fun. Like,
A big boy of big dreams.
yeah, like he has dreams. So I respect that. And so I'm going to be transparent and honest about my skill set, because I don't want it to fall short based on my skills. So I was very honest with where I am. And I was like, look, I'm very passionate about editing and things like that, but I don't know if you want me to fully take responsibility for it, was basically, in layman's terms, what I said. So we hop on a call, like there's 3 producers on the call, and this is going to go very quickly into what we're talking about today. It was a 2-hour call. We're going through the entire shot list, and, we're going through like the script as well as the shot at the same time. And they're saying like all this terminology, like, oh yeah, this is an OTS shot, and this is that stands for over the shoulder. I didn't know what these terms meant. I'm Googling at the same time whilst all these people are talking, and I'm like, oh my God, I'm not saying anything. They're going to think I'm like fucking useless because I'm not like contributing. And they're like, oh, Lewis, what do you think about this shot and this shot here? And like, I'm just saying what I genuinely think based off like my knowledge and like the limited knowledge I know. Like, but these people went to like film school and shit. So call's like 2 hours long. I'm exhausted because I do a full days at work. I come home 6:30. That's the call. Call ends 8:30. I've had no food, and I'm just like drained. And I'm putting everything I can into focusing. 2 hours go by. One of them hops off. It goes, "Oh, Lewis, do you mind if we go through and talk through post production, like editing?" And I'm like, "Yeah, sure." So like, this is my bit, because I didn't actually know throughout this whole time, like, what capacity am I doing? Like, is someone the main editor and I'm like helping a bit? Like, I didn't really know. So they basically, this guy Joseph, who's like one of the producers, turned around and was like, "Yeah, so Lewis, like, what's your workflow typically like? Like, how would you like to kind of like do this? How would you kind of like do this?" And I said, "To be honest, I haven't been involved with this before, so whatever process that you usually have with your editor or editors, I'm happy to follow that process and learn." So they said, "Yeah, so what we think we'll do, so after we've done the shoot, which is 4 days, we're going to give you the film, like all the footage, and give it back to us in a week, and let's just see what you can do."
How long's the film?
It'll be like 15. It'll be like 15 minutes, like 15-minute short film. And bear in mind, like a standard time is like you'll probably spend half an hour to an hour on each minute. But it basically is how I'm putting it in my head. I saw that somewhere and I've just kind of stuck with it. So I thought I was going to have like a little like, oh yeah, you know, add a little scene here and get a little like, oh, well done, Lewis, you helped out. But I'm the editor for it. And
well, I said it's like, all on your shoulders.
It is on. I am the editor.
Little old you.
Me.
Damn.
And I was like, okay. I was like, sure. And I was like, okay, this is exactly what I'm going to need to make this work. So like, because, you know, you have sound, which is recorded separately. Then you have cameras being used and everything like that. And I was like, what I'll need is each and every scene, like categorized perfectly, scene by scene by scene. Because like typically for editors, like all the shots and videos like just scrambled, and you just basically just gotta figure shit out. And he said like, don't worry, like when we hand over like the hard drive to you, we'll have like a 2-hour meeting and just explain exactly what we want. And I said, I want to understand your vision entirely so I can have it in my brain, and so I understand like what you want me to do and how you want this to look. So in about end of July, when I come back from holiday, I have that as my task for like the month. So I'll do 1 week, which will be like, okay, that's like your first draft. And then I'll give the drive to them. They can look at it, review it. Then we do a second round. So basically I'm editing a short film entirely.
Okay. So impressed that you've taken on the challenge. I think you can do it. My question is, when they said a week, and you've got your calculation in your head, it's about 30 minutes to each minute, right? I'm going to try and do some quick flight Spain. I won't got time for that. I'm not going to do that. It's about 30 hours you're going to do.
Yeah.
Right?
Minimum of 50, but probably a minimum. Because I know this is like my first.
You're fresh to this, all right? You're fresh to this. Like
exactly.
I get that you've been learning and you've been trying to learn the shortcuts, but this is your first like big project, let's say.
Yeah.
Right? Did you process all that information before you agreed? Or were you more excited about the opportunity? You didn't want to look bad?
So I know that, so this is where my figure out ability kicked in. Because I know that weekend's empty in particular. So I know that in this particular moment, time is on my side. And because this is the thing I want to do, I 100% said yes without properly deeping it. But at the same time, this is one of those things where I thought that this opportunity wouldn't turn up for about a year from now, minimum. So I have to make it work. It's not really like my feelings aren't really important in this circumstance because the thing needs to get done. And I know we're very much about like, you know, balance and not overstressing yourself and not working, but this is the opportunity that I've actually been asking for a while. So I have to make it work. So if I have to do a 4 a.m. nighter, I have to do it because I have literally asked to do this.
Will you do this? Will you do these 4 a.m. nighters I know, okay, I'm asking this knowing that there's an audience. I'm asking this knowing that your answer might shape it as, oh, he's going to only do things when he wants to do it. I mean, you are only going to do this when you want to do it. If you don't want to do it, you can't really do it, can you?
Yeah.
I know you're responding 10% into things because you do. You can't help but do 110%, but you do it within the time frame that you have. Will you keep that in mind going forward, or are you going to be able to maintain this pace for the rest of your journey as a film editor and in the future as a producer? Will you be able to maintain this pace?
How I'm kind of measuring this in my head, it's similar to how we, similar to my approach for editing the first pod, right? First impressions are really important. I haven't worked with these people before, and I have no merit yet to kind of say how long things suggest. So the reason why they're saying it's a week is because that's the standard that they are used to. Now, if I can justify later on, if you want higher quality than what I did before, I'll need more time.
Right.
Do you see what I mean?
Okay, I hear what you mean.
So I'm positioning myself to their expectation first. And if they're like, if you're happy with this, that's great. I can make this better with more time. So that's how I would position it for future projects. And because the first impression is important, and I know how ambitious this particular group of people are, I know they're going to do amazing things. And it's similar to what the LA guy gave me advice for. Is like, Steven, like, what's his bloody name? Spielberg. Spielberg.
I was going to say Bartlett.
No.
I forgot you're on about editors.
Spielberg. Spielberg has his editor as he was developing, right? And this is, if we are all leveling up at the same time, when these guys eventually get, their big budgets and, they break through and they need an editor, I need to be there. So that's how I'm thinking long term, right? I'm not just saying, I need to get this done. Well, it is partially, I want to get this done because I want to continue to work with these people, which I do. So I'm seeing this as, this is the first opportunity that I've had. And if I do this well, not only will I come back for future projects, but when other people need editors and maybe when they're not working on something, I will be referred. So
you're aiming to impress.
Yeah, 100%. 100%.
As long as you have a cutoff point, and I think that touches on touches on what we talk about today, which
I don't
let me know when you're ready. We'll segue into a proper introduction.
Yeah, I'm gonna try and do my best to not overdo it. I know I will a little bit, but I have trust in. Yes, it's exciting.
It's exciting. Right now, you've got positive energy to push you through this.
I have trust in myself, and I take Rosie's word very seriously. If she's like, you need to go to sleep.
Okay.
Like, do it. So I know that there are contingencies in place for when I am just fully like locked in and I don't want to sleep. And I do get waves of that. Like, there's been times where Rosie and I will go to bed and I'll then get back up and go on my laptop till like 1:30 in the morning because I just have these ideas to do. But what's very
editing wise, or just in general,
editing wise.
Wow.
So, I know that's something that needs to be maintained. But again, I know I have other responsibilities, like the pod is a responsibility, and I know that I'm not going to make other things fall quality wise. So the way I see it, I have a so I'll get the footage when I come back from the holiday, which is like 26th of July.
Right.
So I will have in the meantime, I'm going to like study, like read up much upon like how shots are used to like, I'm going to completely study as much as I can. I know that will only help to a certain extent because obviously the practical and the theory are two very different things, but I like to go into a situation as armed as possible. And that week will be very meticulously planned to get this delivered, where it's like I organize it by, like, if there's 16 scenes, if I organize like a scene, like a couple of scenes this day or a scene this day. But the thing is, I know I'm going to have a second round of edits anyway, and I'm going to have conversations to understand the director's sort of vision. But that's going to be particularly those first 2 days over that weekend is going to be a shift. So yeah, I'm willing to put in all I have to make this the best that I can do. But yeah, it transitions a lot into what we're talking about today, because I felt like I was like, am I supposed to be in this room? So I don't know where we want to go from here. I don't know if you want me to continue, or do you want to?
No,
I think I've gone off, so I think I'll hand over to you.
You've hit a really good point. So today's episode is themed around imposter syndrome.
Yes.
And it's something that if you've had a job and you're a normal human being, you have probably gone through it at some point in your life. If you've been in a room with more people, with more than 5 people, and there's someone cool in there, or you feel like you're not the coolest person, you've definitely been through it, because that's what that feeling is. It's that sense of not belonging, even though you have all the right to be there, but not feeling like you belong, and feeling that you need to do more to validate why you belong. Whether or not you act on it or not, is that feeling of, I'm not good enough to be here, but yet I'm here, and maybe someone will catch on to why. And sometimes the reaction to that is, oh, I should really work really hard so no one even dares to question why. Sometimes the reaction is, pack it all in and sit there until everyone questions why and gets rid of me because I don't belong here. And I think those are mainly the 2 extremes, because it's very rare that someone actually stays in that same situation and feels like an imposter past 3 or 4 months, wherever that situation is. I've been there in every job role I've applied for, and in every new opportunity I've been there. And I was saying earlier about how I'm taking more of a measured approach, and it's been the best counteractor to that feeling. It doesn't make it go away, but it means I can set expectations early, because I don't know about you, I'm definitely seeing it in your response, in your excitement about this additional opportunity. I'm definitely sensing it. Whether you agree or disagree, I'm sensing off what you're saying, because you are put in a room of people you see as authority figures. From my point of view, people you see as more of an authority figure than yourself on this topic, on a topic you're really excited to learn and develop in and grow into your career. You see these people as testament, as the people that will be your witnesses. They'll be able to testify that Lewis can do this when they go and talk to other people. They're the people that you need to rely on to be able to call on to use as your evidence to say, man, when I did that project for you, it was really great, wasn't it? Yep. Tell them. And because of that, you naturally, it's a survival instinct, if anything, have to people please to keep going. And in your field especially, it's built into the whole industry. It's built as a habit of like grind till you get there, as people please. It's not like, and when I say grind, it's not like the army where you got to do push-ups and everything. In the army, you just got, my understanding is you got to survive. You've got to be a good survivor. You've got to be a good team player. You've got to basically be that guy who needs to do it. In industries like this, where everyone who's above you has had to grind there, the validation is going above and beyond to do the best work, because the art is God. Like, being able to do this amazing piece of work is what everyone aspires to be able to achieve. And the validation is the person above you. From what I've seen and from the people I've talked to, not necessarily including yourself, because you're new to this and I've not heard you say these things just yet, but if people I've talked to in the same creative kind of industry, it seems like a person above them also has that view of someone above them. And that mindset carries all the way until it reaches the investor that's just throwing money at projects.
Oh, yeah, bro. That's
low-key, they just sat there like, will it make me more money? Yes or no? Quite often, the business guy has hired everyone there because he can't do the creative stuff. That's why he's invested in you guys there. But yeah, that's my view on it. And I think imposter syndrome is common in all workplaces, in all spaces. But in the one you're in especially, I think could be a test of your fortitude and your ability to revive OG Lewis and the confidence that you have in yourself and your capabilities about 5 months down the line. I think this will be a test for you.
Yeah. It's quite interesting, this topic, man, because it's just weird, because before I even knew this was this week's topic, because I know we organized it, like, this was already a theme of the week.
Yeah.
So I was seeing things that were very much resonating. And it's like, I obviously did my research, and it was like 70% of people in the UK experience this all the time.
So people report it.
Yeah,
You got to think. Some
True.
people don't even do the employee survey.
Very
They
true.
see it and they're like, "No, I'm not doing it."
And one thing which I read is which I noticed as well, is that people from an ethnic minorities are more susceptible to this as well. And in my experience, and you're probably going to say the same thing,
100%.
because of the industries that we work in, they're mainly dominated by white spaces. And I mean, that's pretty much every space.
Yeah.
It's being, the one black employee in the team. It's, if you're a high achieving black student, you're made as like a case for the school.
Boy, are my pictures everywhere in that uni advert.
Yeah, exactly. Right. You're used for Trent now, and
exactly. I mean,
you know what I mean.
Complaining. I love Trent.
So,
I do love Trent.
It's and for me, it was when I, particularly like in school, I knew that I was most people's interaction of what black people were.
You were the only black friend.
So yeah. And so I know
I've seen some of your school pictures. You were the only black friend.
Yeah. And there was I know stereotypes would be based off like my behavior, because people weren't exposed to black people, because there were none. And when there were black people in my school, most of the time it was the typical stereotypes of, they got expelled, they do drugs and shit like that. So for me, it was a weird case for me, because I was actually doing well. It shouldn't have been a weird case, because it's very normal, but because of the industry just because of the area I was in, and most people's perception of media and things like that, I couldn't help but feel like an imposter in a lot of spaces, because it was almost like when I did well, it was weird to see, because people just hadn't seen it before. And I think that kind of carried through into like careers and things like that. So like when I've gone to work in these companies, most of the time, it's got a lot better now. Like companies like Spotify and NBC Universal, they're very diverse, but and that's where you actually saw more diverse crowds of people who are also doing well. But if you're not in that, you're not really exposed to it. So I think us being black definitely played a huge part 100%. Into feeling imposter.
You're trying to prove you're one of the good ones.
Yeah, exactly. And I'm trying to prove that
protest that you shouldn't do that.
Yeah, and it's like I'm trying to prove that I'm not like a typical hoodlum and shit. And it's like I feel like it's embedded, because I know my parents were very much like, when you leave this house, you represent our family, and you represent yourself and a surname, and don't bring bad shit home and things like that. And it was that on top of, I know if I fuck up in this certain crowd filled with white people, that's just going to contribute.
You're going to be representing all black people in that situation.
I represent all black people because I'm the only one that they know.
And I will say this to the white folks who are about to say, you talk about white privilege. You're probably one of those people that's judging a whole group of people based on that one black guy you met or the one thing you heard on the news. Let's be honest. You're the Donny in the comment section for all of these little topics out here waiting for a black person to say something so you can be the white man's champion. Relax yourself. We understand that everyone is different. We understand that everyone's unique. Everyone has their own, battle scars and their own history. And if you work on yourself, you can be better. And if you focus on yourself, these things will go away, whatever. It doesn't change the innate fear of the fact that you represent a whole culture in most cases and in most rooms. Because it's not even like, especially, and I know imposter syndrome is quite broad, and I know it affects everyone from different cultures, right? But our points of a lot of this pod is about our experiences, and the main evidence to anything we say is what we're currently going through.
Yeah.
I have personally witnessed, not in this current job role, but in other OG jobs I had in uni especially, I've personally witnessed people compare my behavior to everyone else from a similar culture. I've personally heard them do it. And it could be like, you're one of the good ones. It could be like,
this one's all right.
Yeah. Or it could be, he's late again. Shock. One of those things, right? And it's I mean, I'm late because I'm.
I mean, yeah, you usually are.
It's a trait of dyslexia and bad organization. Okay.
I'm saying, you're like, hold on,
But-
okay.
But Lewis
Go,
has
go.
evidence that it's not all black people that are late. So it goes to it just goes to show that we're not saying this because we've seen it in the news. We're saying it because we've experienced it. We're saying this because there is a need to survive and to validate that you deserve to be there. Because the other side of it, Lewis, is that sometimes we have a job because we are the test case. We are the diversity quota.
Yeah,
And we are there. We are there because we deserve it. But let's be honest, whether we deserve it or not, someone has looked at that application, compared us to someone who is white or someone they know, and gone, naturally, I'd go for the white guy, but because we got a quota, I'm going to go for the black guy. And that decision process that final decision process isn't based on our skill. But you go into that role being aware that your skin color played a part in that decisioning. And because of that, you go into that role wanting to try harder to prove that you're more than the color of your skin. And you have to fight harder. And because of that, you end up in that situation where you overpromise, not through words, but through actions. And that's what happens usually during that imposter syndrome phase, where you're like, I've got to prove that I'm amazing. I've got to prove that I am the best. It doesn't matter what I look like. I am Lewis. I am Sam, right? And that's where you set the wrong expectations. So then when you do the 100% that everyone else is doing, they notice massively a drop in overall team performance, and it gets attributed to, you're not doing as much work as you used to. And often it's not even compared to, I'm doing as much as everyone else now because I realized that this is my value. It stops being about that and it quickly goes, yeah, but you aren't doing as much as you used to. So let's talk about how you're not doing as much as you used to. Forget about the team. And it's this one conversation that a manager will have with you. This is about your individual performance. This is about you not doing as much as I know you're capable of doing. But I'm like, but you're not paying me fairly for my individual performance. So I'm going to draw it back now. But you've already built up every piece of evidence they need to give to say that, well, for this pay, you were clearly happy to do more work. Previously, you were clearly happy to do more work, and that's what we're paying you for. And they'll completely ignore, even though they have a pure awareness of this, that most people suffer from imposter syndrome and overpromise. And you know what? It's a testament of a good manager to be able to sit back, look at that behavior, look at you, pull yourself back, and realize that, yep, they've normalized in the group, and you know what, this is a healthy thing. And I'd say currently, I have managers like that. Currently, I have managers who will look at it and they'll say, you slow down a bit, and they'll say, is everything okay? And I'll be like, no, I'm doing what I need to do to be able to achieve this. If I do more than this, I'll burn myself out. I've got to be able to work at this pace. And they'll say, you know what, fair play. Is there anything else we can take off you so you can do what you're doing at a better level? And it's like, nah, I'm cool. It's like, great. Just make sure we get the outcome we need at the end. And that's brilliant. That's what you need from a manager. But yeah, I'm trying to highlight another fear that people will go through in the long run if they let the fear of being an imposter take over, which is you'll be working more than you're paid to if you let this take over you.
Yeah. There are signs when it can be, I want to touch upon like the good side of things, or like the way to reframe it. And obviously our boy Stephen Bartlett, obviously I went on LinkedIn and saw like things people had to say about it.
Money man.
And it was moments where, like, outside of me feeling like I need to do well because of like what I represent and things like that, but just in general, like being in the room with certain people and doing well. And there were a few moments where I felt this, and it's like Stephen Bartlett framed it as like you only feel this because if you're in a room like next to like, you know, all these like these famous people and investors, this was like his reference to like Dragon's Den. He's like, actually, I do deserve to be in this space, and he views it as a growth moment as opposed to an imposter moment. And it's actually, you're only feeling like an imposter because you're growing and you're doing things that you haven't done before. I think there are clear moments when obviously these two things differentiate. But if it's moments of like when you feel overwhelmed because you're in a room with amazing people and you're also are in there, that should be viewed as a growth moment as opposed to why am I here? And I had this moment myself where I went to the networking event and loads of people like doing amazing things, and they're talking about how they're getting like all these seed funding, and there's these investors and these venture capitalists, and all this sort of stuff, and I'm in there, and I'm like,
Mm.
this feels weird. But the thing is, I also want to. These are people who I aspire to kind of be around and be like, and usually it's. And a woman who I was speaking to there, actually, I was going to mention this in the other episode, where she again was feeling like, she was intimidated and things like that. And she said to me, would you rather be the smartest person in the room or the dumbest person in the room? And I was like, the dumbest person in the room, 100%. Because in this room in particular, I have all these amazing people to learn from and become better and to network with. Being the smartest person in the room, you need to find a new room. And I read this in a book, probably when I was like 18. And so I've always kind of been in that space where I always want to learn and network with people who are better than me, not just for selfish reasons. Just, I suppose it is a bit selfish because they also want to learn and grow and develop and things like that. But I was in this weird sort of like middle ground where, I was actually able to help people who weren't where I am yet, which sounds egotistical, but evidently it's true because they were asking me for help. But I was also getting help from other people. So that's why networking events are really important. And so those are kind of recent scenarios of where I've actually felt like, okay, maybe I need to reframe this as like actually they see value in what I'm doing, which is why I'm here, and they want to get me involved because they think I can contribute. And so I'm going to try and spend less energy on worrying about what it is I need to do, because clearly I need to have some more, I think it's intertwined with self-belief in doing it, because if they can see the value in what I'm doing, then I'm probably fine. And I need to just kind of reduce the negative self-talk of what if it goes wrong? I should be thinking, what if this actually goes the way it's supposed to go, and lean more in that direction. But not to the point of overconfidence where I'm going to be making mistakes because I think I'm God's gift and shit like that. So it's an interesting discussion because imposter syndrome, people think, oh, isn't it the same as self-doubt? And based on what I've researched this week, it's no, because self-doubt is worrying about you and your skills. Right. And I think imposter syndrome is more about you in certain spaces, and basically you're worried about people figuring out you aren't who you say you are, and you don't belong in the room.
Would that make imposter syndrome self-doubt, but in a situational self-doubt? So there's context needed for it.
I think so. I think it could be like a internal versus external sort of thing, because I think self-doubt could be more internal, and imposter syndrome could be people finding out about your self-doubt. I feel like that's how I'm sort of like framing it.
I feel like a strong part of it is also, this is just my perception of it. A strong part is not being aware of someone like you with a similar history, being in that situation. When they say like look for mentors in businesses and look for people like that, it really helps to crush imposter syndrome. Yeah. Because I put it this way, when I started the DBA, our first cohort meeting, I quickly realized I was half the age of everyone else in that room, right? Well, not half, that's a bit mean, but like considerably younger than everyone else. Everyone else in that room had kids. I think one person might actually have grandkids. Everyone else they have a substantial income for sure. So money-wise, I'm trumped. Age-wise, I'm trumped. Experience-wise, I was trumped. And the qualification for the course does involve, I think it was 5 or 7 years of leading a business, which I have achieved through my business. And actually, there has been times where I've actually had other ideas where I've run teams of multiple people. And I've got everything on paper I have. But in that room, I quickly realized, compared to all these lot, I barely meet the average standard for our course. And on top of that, I have a bursary for mine. So I'm not paying either, right? So I feel like I've scammed a living. I'm there for free in a room I shouldn't be in front of people that I'm thinking they're looking at me like, why is he here? Like, he looked like he just finished school. How is he doing a doctorate of business administration? I haven't even done the MBA, and I'll skip straight to the doctorate version of it. And there's people there that are some of the people there are actual university tutors. Like,
Oh,
people
wow.
that, some of them are actual tutors. One lady teaches the MBA course. So I'm just sat there like, what am I doing here? And I just kept quiet for the whole call. For the whole call, I just sat there quietly watching on, thinking, I shouldn't be here. If I say anything, someone will question why I'm here and they'll kick me off the course. So I'm just going to sit it quietly. And I outed my insecurity, because that's what I did back then. Right? I did the key. Oh, I'm not sure if I'm the right person for this, that kind of stuff. And I was just like, God, I'm actually too young. Maybe I'm in the wrong room, guys. Haha. And there's this one lady, I'll just say her first name, hopefully she's all right with that, Nicola. And she basically just went, no, you're here because you deserve to be here, Sam. And I was just like, whoa, hold on a minute. And she was like, yeah. And then another lady backs her up. And she was just like, yeah, you've worked hard. You smashed it. You finished your master's. You've got a really good job. You run your own business. You've clearly got a good head on your shoulders. You're here because you need to be here. And another guy jumped on the same bandwagon. And it turns out I wasn't even the only person on the course of a bursary. There's another guy from Egypt who's there with a bursary. And he runs like multiple online schools. And he's just like, no, you're here because you deserve to be here. And straight away, I felt like, all right, it's okay for me to just be who I am and learn and be in this space because I deserve to be here. And it helped because I was validated. It's almost like I was welcomed into the group by people I thought already belonged in the group before I did. It's like joining a friend. It's joining someone at a lunch table and they go, oh, hey, rather than you sit there quietly and everyone's like, what is that with us? Like, that's the feeling you get until someone goes, hi, what are you eating? That kind of thing, right? Yeah. And I think the bit that made me feel even more secure in that space was the fact that I wasn't the only person there for bursary. There was someone else there for bursary who was working equally as hard. And it made me think, right, I'm not the only foreign person in this room, so throw that mindset away because clearly we're all going to make it. 2, I'm not the oldest person in the room, fine. But in terms of job role, my job level actually matches some of the people already in the room with me. The pay might not be the same because they're from different countries and different values and all these things, but job level, seniority matches the level of some of the people in the room with me. So it's like, okay, cool. We match on that. Experience in owning a business, match some of the people, one person, I'd say, in the room with me. And how I got to this point is just being brave to ask the questions about what people do, how they got there, how did you get in this job, how did you get in this space? And I slowly started to realize there's a lot of similarities. And where I didn't know similarities, I started going, okay, there's opportunities to learn how I can develop myself better. And very quickly, I would say for the first month, I felt like I didn't belong. For the second month, I started asking questions. By the third month, I was just focused on my coursework. I was the one who set up the weekly catch-ups with the rest of the course. So I'm like, guys, we need to I'm like trying to be teacher now. I'm like joining calls sometimes and giving people like tips on like how to get stuff done at the university because they're slow in certain aspects. And I feel you. I definitely feel you, and I definitely resonate with what you said when it comes to your views of imposter syndrome. I think I want you to expand it more because the most of your views were highlighted as part of your weekly update. There's some opportunity for you to dig deep.
Just before I go into that as well, it's like there were like different types of imposter syndromes, and it was talking about like micromanagers and there's a type called like soloists as well who don't like to be wrong. And I feel like I definitely had got added on imposter syndrome in early work where, you know, when I was new to the advertising industry and whenever I might ask a question, they'll be like, oh, shouldn't you know this? So that's why I felt like I needed to figure things out.
Soloists is what I have.
And
soloists is what I go through.
There was something which I saw, and it was basically like how you, not say get rid of, but like the counteract to imposter syndrome is basically you learning to trust yourself. Now, I feel like everyone has experience with micromanagers, and micromanagers, I've actually learned from this week, probably have imposter syndrome, and that's why they micromanage.
Why?
Because they want everything to be perfect and right, because they don't feel like they should be a manager, which is why they're on your case to make sure you do everything right, because obviously it's your responsibility to make them look good. Because if you fuck up,
I was expecting you to say.
You end up making them look like they can't manage. So I've actually
Oh,
I've
okay. So
actually,
they feel like an imposter because they've been put in a position of authority and they don't think they deserve that authority. So
yeah,
they overmanage. Okay,
yeah.
I thought it was gonna be. I thought you were gonna
So
say
that's
like
why
they're
I
worried
said
about you doing a better job than them, so they
it's
micromanage you.
it's probably a combination of both, but it made me
Okay.
develop a softer spot for micromanagers because actually maybe they don't feel, maybe they're experiencing imposter syndrome as well, and that's why they overmanage and try and do everything. And I feel like if you learn to trust, so that's why I usually when I'm in a new role, because like in particular roles, I've had things where you do your work, your manager processes, then it goes through, right? And it, whilst I understand that being a process to get your manager to approve things, you don't develop trust with yourself in your work if someone else is always double checking it. And so that can make you feel like an imposter. Like, say, if your boss is away and then people come to you to make decisions, that's when you feel like an imposter. And I've experienced this in my current role. And it's got to the point where your manager's never going to be like, oh, go on, like, spread your wings and fly. It's just, you just kind of have to start making decisions on your own. And your boss just expects you at some point just to be like, yeah, you should take more ownership. They love that word, ownership. Take more ownership of this and ownership of this. But they actually want ownership. They're never going to relinquish it. And there was a situation I was in the other day where basically all my team were out. And so we have my manager in the UK was out and my other teammate was out and all the other managers are in the US. Now, when my manager is gone, I should, go through the process and, go to US manager and things like that. But sales needed something that morning. And so it was my decision. I had to get this to them. I wasn't going to be like, I need to wait for my manager. And I wasn't going to do that. So basically what I did, I basically duplicated an already approved project and basically repurposed it and sent it to them. And I know that it would have been fine because it's basically already pre-approved work. That was the smartest way of doing it. And so my boss came back, was like, Lewis, did you go to US management for this thing that you sent? And I said, no. And here's why. I needed to deliver this by this time. I didn't want to cause any delays. You were out of office. US management aren't available till 4 p.m. UK time, which is far too late for sales and the client. Now, what I did do was repurpose a thick campaign that you had already approved. And here's the email thread of you approving it. And I basically repurposed it for this client. And I just hit send. But that was an opportunity for me to trust myself. And I was like, I'm pretty sure I was right to do this decision because I had no other choice. Otherwise, sales will be pissed, client will be pissed, and then it will come back to us. And then I'll be asked, why was this delayed? And I couldn't say, because you were out of office.
Did you question why they asked?
No.
Okay.
I didn't want that to become a thing. I hope that they read between the lines and just learn to trust me more.
You nipped it in the bud.
Yeah, I was just like, you need to learn how.
That's
yeah,
it, right?
because the thing is, right, in this particular role in the team, I've been doing it the longest, and I feel like they forget that sometimes. So I'm like, you need to learn how to trust me because I've been doing this for a while.
Yeah,
it's basically what I insinuated.
You gave a very concise and determined response.
If I can justify the way I process it is, it's like the 51% rule. If I can justify why I've made that decision and I can get to 51% as a minimum in this scenario, I knew I was 100% right to do what I did. And so I fully trusted myself and I was willing to, and the thing is, I knew that this was going to happen, by the way. And I knew I could justify everything I could have done without argument. And if there was any clapback, I'd be like, what would you like me to do as an alternative if there was any pushback against that? But logically speaking, there was nothing else that would have been better.
Fair enough.
So, so in terms of imposter syndrome, if you asked me a year ago, I wouldn't have done that. A year ago, I would have waited and I would have caused delays because I wouldn't have liked to have been seen as taking authority and fucking up.
Today, I would sit on it and wait. To be honest, today. Yeah. And I'll say something that I want to ask you in terms of that time pressure you felt.
Yeah.
I'm not trying to run any parade. I don't think you went in imposter. I think you've just spoken about what you feel is a growth moment, and I believe it is. Not just based on what you said, but based on the energy you give when you say it. That's inherent confidence. You know, like there's a level of confidence in what you're saying that is what people fail to show when they're going through imposter syndrome. It's almost like even like the fake confidence some people give. Like you can read through it and be like, yeah, shut up. Like what are you actually gonna do? Just relax yourself.
Yeah, I feel. Go on. Sorry, go on.
What I was trying to say is that in certain situations, that time pressure and the pressure that especially sales teams will put on you of like, this is the most important thing in the world. And sometimes I don't do it. And it turns out I'll go back a bit late and it'll just be like, oh, I'm so sorry, we got it done. I'm like, oh, we didn't need it. I was like, but you said the world would end if I didn't do it. And like, it's that behavior of, God forbid they report me to my manager and God forbid like all of it falls apart and people realize I'm not good at my job. That can happen. And I want, before we like move on and everyone thinks, you know, when sales teams comes at you, Lewis did it, so I'm going to do it too. What was your measure to validate that being important enough to just apply the 51% rule to it?
So what I've begun to notice is that, particularly with the industry I'm in, the reason why I didn't like being wrong so much, because in this industry in particular, and I may have learned it from my very first job, it's like when you were wrong, you were basically like, oh my God, I can't believe you don't know this or that. You're basically made a villain and you're just no longer trusted. However, for me, I learn more by being wrong. I learned to be right by being wrong. So it's not
fail fast.
It's not good. Exactly. You got to fail fast, fail forward. And now there's times where like I used to just like, if I'm being sent a question and my manager's on CC or something like that and it's something I'm not sure about, I used to just let my manager answer, and I'll take like a mental note or a literal note of like, okay, if I get asked this in the future, that's the answer. That isn't really as practical. What is more practical is if I get a question and I'm 51% sure that I'm right, I will reply. And if it's right, great, cool. I will know that going forward. Or if it's wrong, someone will tell me. And you will learn harder that way by someone correcting you, as opposed to, you know, someone else coming in and saying the answer and you taking a mental note for it, because it doesn't hit as hard. So you're practicing learning to trust your skill set more and your qualities. And obviously if you're wrong, someone will correct you. And because I don't like being wrong, and if it's email, you're going to be publicly outed as wrong or incorrect, and they will correct you. You will make sure that, I don't know if it's you, but I will make sure that will never happen again. So I've been more willing to make mistakes and learn that way, as opposed to kind of like second guessing myself and worrying, should I reply to this email? And I think my manager now respects me more for it.
Good.
Because if he goes, oh, why did you say that on the email? I'll be like, I thought the answer was this based off this, and this. And it won't just be like oh yeah, I'm just going to make random shit up. I will usually have some sort of evidence to come to the thing that I'm saying. I don't tend to chat shit unless I have evidence for it. And that's kind of how I've dealt with imposter syndrome, particularly in my particular role now. I'm very confident in my role now because I will, and the thing is, it's now helped with when I'm taking on new work or new part of the business or a new product. I will say to my boss will always loves to say, well, every manager likes to say like, oh, do you have any questions on this and stuff like that? And I will say to her, I don't know what questions to ask because I don't know enough about it to do it yet. So once I'm stuck in the weeds of it and I'm being told to figure it out, I will ask questions then. And then when I understand the process and understand where the inefficiencies are, that's when I'll ask questions. It's not going to be in a meeting and you're talking about it, because it's not going to stay in here. I'm very much like a practical learner. You just need to throw me in the deep end and I'll figure it out. And that's kind of where I'm at with that now.
My manager sat down with me, because what I used to do is I didn't want to look inadequate. So same determined approach, but I would say what I assumed was right. Right? And assumed is a key term there, because I would try to read between the lines of what I've heard previously in another topic and use that to formulate answers to things I was being asked, basically.
Yeah.
And that's fine in most senses, in like subjective things, right? In most where like if someone's like, "I'll summarize this email to me," you can summarize that easily. Like, this is what it says. Or if someone says like, if someone's like coughing and they're not in, and someone goes, "Oh, why are they not in?" I could say, "Oh, they're off today, but I think because they feel a bit poorly," right? And then normally you should just follow up with, "This is why I think they're poorly," rather than just claim someone's ill on their behalf, because I could get them in trouble. Anyway, I used to do it about like how certain tech worked, because I would apply my knowledge of technology to it, assuming that it would make small sense when they do it this way. And he said that the feature does this, so obviously it must do this in the background, right? And it's not wrong that that's a possible way that works in the background, but that doesn't mean it's the only way it works in the background. So if someone asks me like, "Oh, does this thing have this," like, let's say they'll go, "Oh, does this service use AWS?" And I'll be like, "Yeah." And they'll be like, "Oh, does it use this AWS feature?" And I'll be like, "Yeah, it does. It must do, because it does this," right? And then some like head of tech will be like, "Why did you say it does?" And I was like, "It must do though, right? Obviously it does. How else are you doing it?" And he was like, "We've got a whole other feature that does that. We've built," like, he would literally be like, "What the hell have you just done? Like, why have you just gone and tried nonsense?" So my manager basically went like, it was like, you know your stuff when it comes to like tech. Don't get us wrong, but it's more of what you say. You need to be 100% sure about it, because people will take your word for it. And what that was doing is my need to pretend I know what I'm talking about in case someone catches me out, ended up putting me in a position where even if I was right, people questioned what I had to say, because it's like, "Yeah, but he's been wrong so many times." Or like, "Yeah, he says everything with the same level of confidence. Is he actually right about what he's saying, right?" And she gave me one piece of advice that really has helped me since. It was, just because it's the most important thing to the person that's asking you doesn't mean it's actually the most important thing to the business or the world. Just because someone's emailing you saying, "I need an answer right now," doesn't mean you have to give them an answer right now. It means you need to consider the impact of giving them the answer right now, and if the value is the same for us as a business for you to give them right now. And an example would be, the client really needs to know this right now. Tell us right now, how does the system work? "Oh my God, I've got a meeting in 2 minutes. Please tell me." It's like, you could get it wrong, and then the client would take it for verbatim or whatever. Am I using the right term? I'm not sure. The client will take it as fact, right? And then we're in a position where the client is now way further back now because they are working with the wrong information. Rather than delay it, yes, the client will be pissed off that they didn't get the information straight away, but when they do get it, they're going to be making progress, not recovering from the mess that we've made. And then she also said, and then she gave me an example of, there was a guy she used to employ who was really good at responding to emails, but the job role was more than answering emails quickly and answering questions quickly. The job role is looking after the products. The job role is making sure the products, doing your best to make sure the product's profitable, doing your best to make sure that the product's performing well. And she's like, these are all the factors that factor into the job role, not just being the guy who has all the answers. And another thing she also told me was, sometimes it's okay to be linking into what you were saying before I trailed off into my little rant. What she said that linked to yours was, she used to get told off for being too quiet in meetings because it's almost like she was never there. And she was confident in her quietness because she knew that it's because she doesn't like playing lip service. She's not going to be that person. I hate when people do this. When they ask dumb questions just so they look good. The boss thinks you're an idiot. Stop asking dumb questions. We all just sat there like, she literally said it 5 minutes ago. If you listened, you would know. And I'm saying this knowing that some people are scared of asking questions because they don't want to look stupid. Ask the questions you need to ask if you genuinely need to know the answer. If you're sat there thinking, "I've been quiet for 5 minutes, I need to look like I'm paying attention," I'm going to ask a question. Don't. You're wasting time. Because someone's got to stop a presentation that's set for 30 minutes to ask you a 5-minute question and then carry on and hope she finishes it in 30 minutes or they finish it in 30 minutes. Anywho, back on what I was saying. She basically said that she only asks questions when she needs to, and she usually needs to when she's clear on the questions she needs to ask to get the answers she need.
Yeah, that's a good policy to follow.
And that's why she's quiet. And I've started following that. So I don't just randomly just pop on and be like, Well, this is how it was. I'm happy to sit there in meetings quietly. And remember, I talked about how, like, in group situations, my brain's itchy because I'm like, extrovert time to shine. Everyone needs to know Sam's here. I don't do that anymore. I'm literally sat there like, but it would cost me so much more effort if I actually behave like this. Like, there's going to be so much extra work that comes off the back of behaving like this. Is it worth this? Is it worth being a shiny person in the room today? Is it worth being a golden retriever and putting my hands up because there's an opportunity to prove something? Like, really, Sam, is it? And then I'll try to convince myself like, yeah, and I'm like, but when you did it in the past, did you get the rewards you were expecting, or were you just more pissed off? So how about we sit here today? How about we sit here today, be quiet, and only ask the questions we need to? Only when someone says something that you're like, that doesn't make sense, then I ask the question. Not, I know the answer to this, but I'm gonna look like I'm really listening by asking a question to this, and like, how do you spell GTM? I asked the question, yeah, I did something cool. Like, you see what I mean? Like, you have to take a measured approach in these situations. But yeah, that's one thing you said that I 100% agree with you doing, in terms of taking time to process what you need to ask and what you need to get out of what you're asking. And I've really been enjoying it. And I hope you're enjoying it too, because like, you're going to be in a lot of these situations in this new opportunities that you're getting with your editing.
Yeah, absolutely, man. And it's weird because I have quite a unique entrance into it, because usually people like you know, like I said earlier, like they know, I'm recording videos since I was 10, and you know, I've always known I wanted to do this, and
you're one of those people. And watch Meet the Goldbergs.
I have not.
You need to watch it. At the end of every scene, the producer has like a little clip of him as a child filming some kind of scene.
But yeah, all these people are basically that. Yeah. Both of them. And I've come from a very different background, which is a gift as well as a curse, because sometimes I feel like, I'm starting quite late and everyone's like 10 years ahead. Or is it going to be really cool in the Netflix documentary about it? You know what I mean? So it's like, you got to be, is it just a cool plot? You know what I mean? You know, I always like to take like inspiration from other people, like the film Everything Everywhere All at Once. That was edited by a crew of 5 people who taught themselves Adobe Premiere Pro on YouTube.
That is, I've seen like clips from that. That's epic as a movie.
Yeah, and the amazing editing, and self-taught. And I was just like, yeah, that's what I'm doing. And it's the first. I think it's the first film editing Oscar that Premiere Pro has, if I'm not mistaken.
It must be in gas. That's on there. That must be on so many gas.
Because Hollywood is on Hollywood. Most films are made on Avid Media Composer for the editors who know that is, but it's basically a different sort of thing. But that's been like the standard. So, but yeah, these people just like self-taught, and that gave me like hope of like, cool, it's been done before. That's evidence that it can be done again. And yeah, that kind of helps me when I'm in these rooms with everyone who's done film school and all this sort of stuff, and they working with all these actors or on BBC and things like that. And I'm here being like, I did marketing campaigns and I taught myself how to edit. Like, it makes you feel like you just don't know shit, and you have. And you know what? The question that people, I think, is that comment that people always make when people do well when they haven't necessarily got a background in that specific area. It's like, oh, what qualifications do they have about business because they didn't go to business school? Or, you know, people always ask about people's qualifications when they're doing shit that they think they can't do, which I think is the main thing. And I think it's cooler to do shit that you're not supposed to do, though. That's kind of how
I think it is.
Yeah.
That shock on that look of either shock, impressed, whatever it is, that turn off someone's emotion when they realise that, goddamn.
In Goggins' terms, it's taken souls.
Yeah.
Taken souls.
It's one of those, it is one of the most satisfying things you can witness.
It's like, how the fuck are you? Yeah. It's
literally, it's like, I remember when I first, like, my first, like, big team meeting, and there's definitely, like, a bit of, like, in the engineers, there's a bit of, like, a boys' crew. But to be fair, like, not that any of the ladies are shunned, but it's majority boys, and they've got, like, their own banter, and they kind of, like, get, like, they've got it inside, and they're cool guys, they're cool dudes. But I think they try to, like, they joke with each other, so they assume that everyone in the room is kind of in on their banter sometimes, right? And I think we had a presentation and one of the guys was like, it was all the product managers stand up and say something about their product. And I was very early into the team, so I didn't have a product yet. I do now, but I didn't then. I was kind of still like learning how the business works. And one of the guys was like, oh, Sam, why don't you stand up and talk about what you've done this quarter? Knowing that I've only been there for like a month and a bit at best. But I'd still done a lot in that month and a bit. I'd done a lot to help the business and help my team. So I was just like, you know what, gang, I stood up and gave a whole speech. I'm not going to say what I said because there's no point. It's business secrets. But like I stood up, said it, and the whole room just went quiet. And then to end it, I basically looked at him and like, I'm not going to give his actual name. Let's call him Tim. I basically just went, is that all right, Tim? Is that okay? Did I do good? And then I just sat back down.
Sorry, did I do good? Did I do the speech? Did I do well?
Are you pleased? And it was almost like, I can see a lot of my manager's face of like, get him. I was like, let's go. I sat there and so in my head, I was just like, yeah, you're mine. Yeah. And he's such a cool guy. So obviously I'm not like shunning him. If you watch this,
I love shit like that.
I took souls that day and I look forward to another opportunity to do so, Tim.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think there's a lot more. There's a lot more for people to experience when it comes to imposter syndrome. And I think it's part of the natural journey in the workplace. It can feed into your drive and hunger to do better because sometimes, no offense to people, you don't, in rare cases, you don't belong in the space you're in. You're fortunate you've blagged your way there. You know you've blagged your way there.
Yeah.
You know who you are when I say it. And it's time to now prove yourself. You've taken the opportunity from someone else, fine, whatever. You're here now.
Yeah.
It's now time to prove yourself and do the work.
There's a difference between like imposter syndrome and just being genuinely bad at the thing that you're doing. And for me, it's always good to like just stretch outside your comfort zone. And I feel like there's a sweet spot of discomfort where you grow. And because if you take something too challenging, you're not going to be encouraged to pursue it. But if you do something that is severely under challenging, you're not going to want to do it either. So it's just outside the comfort zone, like 20% outside, and that's your range where you should be at.
Actually, I've got a question. I'm going to put a pin on something. I'm going to say it now because I know when I trail off, I forget it. And I know you'll remember because you actually pay attention better than I do. So I'm going to ask you later on at some point, what do you plan on doing to balance out the inevitable bouts of imposter syndrome you're going to have on this film editing journey you're going on? What are you going to do to balance? I'm going to put a pin on that so people have to keep listening. You lot that I see on the settings, I see the algorithms, and I see people skipping, so you're going to have to wait for that. I'm not even going to tell you when he says it, but hold on to that. Before this, I want to say something that I think every time I stop talking, you say something, I remember it, and then it goes away when I'm answering you one of your questions.
That's why I write down things when you talk.
I'm not good at writing. I'm not good at writing and talking because if I'm writing, it's hard for me to properly pay attention to what I'm hearing. So, what I'm going to say is one thing I've kind of touched on before is when you change and you become like, you know what, I'm going to stop burning myself out here. Like I'm going to take a step back. And certain people will be like, oh, you've changed. The same behavior goes for letting people run jokes on you to fit in, like being the butt of jokes and everything to fit in, right? Looking like a fool because, haha, Kiki, you can take it. Oh, it's just racial banter. Oh, it's just boys being boys, one of them things. And I find myself now, because my mindset's changed, I value myself more. I'm in a room where it's almost like I can sense that people are like, oh, it's not the same anymore. Or like if they tell a certain joke, I don't react like I used to. I'll be like, that's stupid. Why would you say that? Or like, that's not funny. I'm not interested in that kind of joke today. And it's almost like, oh, you've changed. And I know I'm going to be in more situations with this. I'm going to be in more situations like this. And I got a message recently, and this isn't one of those racial banter moments, but it was back at a time where I didn't value myself. So many situations I was seen as a joke. And it was when I worked on a bar. I think I was training to be a bartender with a guy. And he's been listening to our podcast. In fact, a few people have. And they've kind of gone, oh, do you want to come? Do you want to collaborate? Do you want to join our pod? And like, I'm not going to lie, I'm gassy because he's one of the rare people who has witnessed my change in character and my growth. he's witnessed my development, and he's one of the first people to message me and be like, "Yo, I'm not gonna lie, dude. We weren't sure about you before, but like you're like it was just like we weren't sure where you were gonna go live, but like you surprised a lot of us. You smashed it." And I look forward to now being in the room with him. Like we'll do a collab episode, and Lewis, you can come to if you want. I'll see if you're invited.
Can you call who is this person? Are you like? Can you say?
Mike. I don't know if I want to give a second name yet. His name's Mike though, and he knows who he is based on what I'm saying. But I actually want to find out where his podcast is. So next time, if I do agree to go on, I'll do a shout out and everything, prep people for it, get more excited.
Nice.
But yeah, it was something that in the past I'd worry about because I want to respect myself and take myself more seriously. But I know that I'm about to go in a room where I would make people uncomfortable if I took myself more seriously. But now I'm not worried about it. Now I'm excited about it. But in the back of my mind, I'm very aware that I'm going to be more of a serious version of myself. I still bounce and everything, but I'm not going to let certain jokes run. I'm not going to let certain things go. Mike was definitely not one of those people to run those jokes. He was definitely one of those people that looked at me like, why do you let them tell these jokes about you? Why do you let them do this to you? Like, respect yourself a bit more. He was definitely one of them, man. So I'm going to be in a space with that person where I've changed. And a part of me worries, would they be uncomfortable? Even though I'm aware that they were like, why are you letting people run jokes like you? A part of me was like, would they be uncomfortable with me taking myself more seriously? Is this what they're expecting? Am I about to let them down? I'm not jokey joke Sam as much as I used to be, that kind of stuff. Although I am excited to collaborate with them. So that's something that's in my mind. And I think that is the latent effect of imposter syndrome of you lock yourself into a character you can't get out of.
You know what, Sam? At the same time, like, I'll engage in manner and things like that. But if it comes into like, I don't really worry too much about people's perception of me when I change, because I know it's for the better. And if I feel happier as a result of a change, other people's happiness isn't really important. If you're happier overall, as long as you're not being an outright dick, if you know you have good integrity, which you do, and you know that you do, and you're a better person, and if people don't like you for you feeling better and becoming a better person, fuck them. Like, who cares? And
you know what I'll add to it?
And I feel like that's, and as episode 10 was about being lean, I feel like, cool, if people don't like a new, improved, better version of you, that's waste that you've gotten rid of. That is like,
true.
It really is. And
it's like taking barnacles off a boat to improve my hydrodynamics.
Yeah,
I waste energy sailing today.
The way I see it is like, we're very much authentically ourselves, and I don't try and switch personalities for different people. I'm just very much what you see is what you get, and I feel like it's a lot easier that way, being yourself, as opposed to worrying what other people's perceptions of you are. Are you supposed to be like this here and this here? And it's like, if you just actually have a bit of more of a fuck it, people just accept me or they don't, life's a lot easier that way. And I've definitely felt this, like, definitely like post uni, like, a lot of people who we went to uni with, I only speak to, a handful of people from uni. I'm still in contact with them, and there's a reason for that, because I know that it's like what I said in the other episode. It's like, were they friends or were they drinking buddies, or are they kind of dicks and you're into different things? It's that level. It's like, do you actually want to be around these kind of people? And it's like that's kind of how you think about it. And sometimes, like, have you ever had, I'm sure everybody has had this moment where you're in a crowd where you shouldn't be, and you kind of have that moment of being like, do I really want to be? Should I be spending this much time with these people?
It's like,
it's like,
I should go.
I've had a few of those moments throughout my early 20s, being like, I really shouldn't. If I know deep down where it is I want to go, and I'm currently here with people doing activities that they shouldn't be, or that I wouldn't be doing, and that's when you kind of have that moment of like, is that frontal lobe? It speaks to you, being like, bro, what are you doing? Like,
oh my God. That's word for word is what I say to myself.
Yeah.
Word for word.
What are you doing?
I say to myself.
Yeah.
I'll say something though. I'll say something. Slowly I'm starting to learn that generally people don't care as much when you change your behavior if they when they respect you. That change of behavior, and that, like I was saying before, the sense of respect for yourself, it's definitely it's something that other people have for you as well. In terms of when you respect yourself, other people tend to respect you, and the ones that don't deserve your energy and your attention. And I'm learning that. That doesn't stop the back of my head thinking, but that's always part of the process. And your brain's always processing the negatives and the positives. If you're always happy-go-lucky, let's be honest, you're probably just a bit. You're just up in the clouds. You're just with the fairies most of the time. If there's not a part of you thinking about alternatives and planning for alternative situations, good for you. It's nice to be ignorant because ignorance is bliss, but that also puts you in a position where you're not prepared. But I do want to flow back to the question I asked you, Lewis.
Go on.
Because I think it would help a lot of people.
Repeat it again for the people who skipped.
Knowing that you're going to have bouts of imposter syndrome, what do you plan on doing to counteract it?
You know what? I tend to do what I've done before. I'm going to try and remember this for future.
Mm-hmm.
Is because usually I usually feel moments of imposter syndrome when I reflect, and particularly when there's there's big spurts of growth within a short time frame. It's like when you're at uni doing shots, and now all of a sudden you've moved to London and you're working at Spotify and that kind of shit. Do you know what I mean? And it's just like life has just moved very quickly, and it's like, are you just have you changed enough within that certain time frame? And I think how I kind of focus on getting through those bouts of imposter syndrome is kind of reflect on how I felt last time, and actually being like, oh, I remember when I felt like this last time and I got through that. And if you reflect on moments where you felt like an imposter and you got through it, which you would have done because you're here, and something pivoted and something changed, then it's highly likely, if you look back on the evidence that you have, if you go back to our confidence episode in episode 7, if you rely and look back at episode 7, if you look back at your
listed in front of you or something.
I just remember, Sam, we only have made 13.
I'm living in the present, dude. I'm one episode at a time.
But basically, if you go back on your evidence as opposed to your self-belief affirmation stuff, if you look at your evidence and be like, okay, when did I last feel like this? Did I get through it? Yes. And if you just have a stack of evidence against what you've done before, then this is just another thing that you're going to get through. And further down the line, you're then, because I'm very much someone like, I like to bring other people up with me, people who have goals and things like that, and I try to help in anywhere I can. I know that if I'm in a room with people who are significantly ahead, I know that one day it's going to be my turn to help people as well, and help people in those situations. And, there might be other people who have been in a similar position to me who have gone down a career path and they want to make a hard left into something more creative. Then I hope I can lend that experience to someone else as well and help them get through it. So I always put comfort in the fact that I will pay my dues down the line, just because I feel like it's the right thing to do, as opposed to kind of like taking on all the value from these people who are doing higher up and then like not giving back. So I know I will give back because it's the right thing to do, and that then makes me not feel as bad for feel like I'm taking advantage now, because I'm taking on the responsibility of doing my due diligence and helping out other people who want to go down the same path later. I hope that answers your question.
It does. It does answer my question. Not as directly as I was expecting to, I'll be honest with you. But it does answer my question in terms of you plan on developing a mindset that will protect you from burning yourself out. When you talk about helping
in terms of
other people and getting to where you need to,
I'm
trying to understand, what's your cutoff point for imposter syndrome behavior? What are you going to use? What's your cutoff point? What are you going to use to reach that cutoff point? So then you're just stable. You're working towards your goals. Yes. You're achieving good outcomes. Yes. You're doing a good job. Yes. But you're not doing it to people please.
Honestly, it's just in terms of more practical advice, in terms of getting on with it, it's just asking as many questions as possible so I understand exactly what it is I need to do. That was my first go-to when I hopped off this call for the short film the other day, because I don't want to have any sort of guesswork and just thinking, oh, I feel like they might like this. So in terms of practicalities, I want to leave that conversation and be like, cool, I know exactly what it is that they need me to do, and I will ask questions if there's any moments of sort of doubt in terms of like what cut or what certain decision I need to make, and I'll go and tackle it similar to what your approach earlier was. I feel like this is the right decision to make based off this, this, and this. What are your thoughts? And we've always had like you and I in particular have always had like a sort of moral standpoint of like being authentic and transparent. I'm not going to try and bullshit them and just leave everything for a week and then just deliver it. I will be texting probably every minute of the hour of the week and just being transparent, being like, look, I'm not really particularly sure about this. I'm stuck on this, or there might be a delay on this. So as opposed to kind of doing something shit, if I could foresee a delay, and I can't remember where I heard this from, but make sure bad news travels faster than good.
Okay.
Because if I see a delay in something, or I see something going wrong, tell it as fast as you can, as opposed to fix it yourself and then going down a deeper shithole. Then it gets the day before and you're like, oh yeah, by the way, this is not gonna be there on time. Because they're gonna be more pissed that you didn't tell them beforehand, as opposed to the actual struggle itself.
It's almost like preparing people for the shitstorm that's coming their way.
Yeah, exactly. Because if you see a shitstorm coming ahead, then, you know, give them an umbrella. You know what I mean?
Imagine someone trying to animate this episode. just a cloud of poo.
Just give an umbrella. Just to be like, by the way.
No, that's
so yeah, man. Cool, that's I suppose that's my sort of approach, really. It's similar to like similar to the self-doubt. Like, I know it's not gonna be something that will go away at any point. Like, you know, if there's a point where, you know, I'm Mr. Lewis, film editor, Hollywood and shit like that, I'm still going to feel like an imposter, because I just remember like the path. And you know, when I think back to like, you know, when I used to work at call centers and things like that during A-levels, and it's like, and now you're here, and then it's like, you know, when you reflect upon your journey, it's easy to like go back into that place and time where you were. And that's probably where the imposter syndrome stuff comes in. It's like, I wasn't doing this like last year and things like that. And then, but again, it's like what we said at the beginning of the episode and what Stephen Bartlett said, like, think of it as a growth moment in those ones. And I think that's how, genuinely mindset-wise, actually, I'm going to try and frame it like that as much as possible. And it's just uncomfortable because you're growing and you haven't done these things before. And I think that's a positive way to frame it for the future. I'm going to try that going ahead.
A nice conclusion to the ep, I think we're getting to. It's a nice end to it. I did actually, now I regret not taking notes, because I did actually have something that I want to end it on. I'll probably remember and then bring it up.
You need post-it notes or something.
That might help, actually. Just something to.
I actually used to have those as well. Actually, I've got one here.
I have a notepad here. But I just about like hitting the boom mic.
No, but you'll start drawing and shit as well.
Exactly, that's a thing.
Yeah.
And I'll just
to draw anime characters. I know you will.
Probably. Yeah. the next Gangnam robot. Anyway, it has been good. I look forward to hearing more about this journey. I mean, I know I will. It's exciting. And you won't stop talking about it, and I hope you never do, and I hope you keep smashing it, and I hope you make millions so you can take me on nice holidays.
Cheers, man.
But yeah, I think this is going to be epic for you, dude. I think you're one of the few people I know who are calculated enough to turn this into a huge advantageous position for yourself. I think you're one of the few people I know who will be aware when you're being taken advantage of and combat it. in the right way, not just shout back because they're hurting me, but play the game and get the win you need. And because of that, I know you'll be fine and you'll be safe. And none of these Hollywood stories are true when it comes to my Lewis, because no one's gonna touch my Lewis. Ain't no one gonna Diddy my Lewis. I think you'll be fine. So yeah, with that in mind,
cheers, man.
I'm excited for you, dude. I'm really excited for you.
Cheers.
I also look forward to. Go on, what were you gonna say?
I was going to say next up is red carpet. Red carpet premieres where we're going with suits and shit. That'd be sick.
I'm so excited. They'll be like, "Who's this guy? Shut up, woman. Don't you watch the podcast he does? Shut up." Oh, sir.
Rosie's hearing like, "Wow, Lewis, I thought you were taking me." Don't worry, Rosie.
Like, no,
I'm taking you first.
I was there first. Excuse me. I was there. I was literally.
Well, you two have to rock paper scissors. I'm just saying. Right, we're going on a tangent.
We are going off on a tangent.
Thank you for listening. By the way, I haven't said this a few weeks, but give this 5 stars, by the way, because it helps us a lot.
Yeah, actually.
It hasn't gone up in weeks. Pause.
Yeah.
But it hasn't.
It just hasn't. It wasn't nothing. It ain't going up. Help it go up.
So yeah, follow us on Instagram, The Podcast Evolve. If you have any questions, thepodcastevolve@gmail.com. If you want to visit the website, www.thepodcastevolve.com.
Breathe.
And that's it. Thank you guys for being here, and see you all next week.
Oh, share the episodes. Share it.
And share the
friends
episodes.
in the WhatsApp and all that.
Please.
About us. Oh my God, this looks so okay. Sam looks so sexy.
Wow, what are these fresh t-shirts that's Lewis wearing? You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, exactly. Sponsoring. Do you actually know the guy who made so?
Yeah, shout out to Tom, Solace Clothing. Yeah, because I wear his t-shirts every week.
They're definitely not. It's generally not a paid promotion either.
It's actually not.
Someone from YouTube and Spotify start running at us. Lewis generally likes this talk.
That's true. So I buy all this shit. So shout out to Tom, man. All right, see you guys.
Let me buy some
next week. Bye.
Bye.